I'm 82 years old, and I finally understand something that took me most of my life to see. It didn't arrive all at once. It came quietly, the way most truths do when you're this old. By the time it settled in, my children were already gone from my daily life. I live alone now. The house is smaller than the one we raised them in, but it still feels too big. Some mornings I wake up and forget, for just a second, that no one is coming down the hall, that no one needs anything from me. Then I remember, and the day begins. I'm not telling this because I expect forgiveness. I'm telling it because I don't have much time left, and silence feels heavier than honesty. When you're young, you think drifting happens because of fights or betrayals, big moments, slamming doors, harsh words. I used to believe that too. I kept waiting for the moment I could point to and say, that's when it broke. That's when I lost them. That moment never came. What came instead was work, responsibility, a sense that if I didn't hold everything together, it would fall apart. I married young. We had children quickly. 2 of them, kids, loud, curious, always asking questions I didn't have time to answer properly. I worked long hours, not because I loved my job, because I believed that was what being a good parent looked like. Providing, showing up tired but reliable. I told myself I'd slow down later. Later became a habit. Most days followed the same pattern. Up before the sun, coffee standing at the counter, a quick goodbye, home after dinner, sometimes after bedtime. I'd peek into their rooms, look at their faces while they slept. I thought that counted as being present. On weekends I was there, technically. But my mind stayed elsewhere. Bills, repairs. Monday, I listened with half an ear. Answered questions while reading the paper. Nodded more than I spoke. They stopped asking me things before I noticed. I don't remember missing the big events. I remember missing the small ones. A story told twice because I wasn't listening the first time. A drawing left on the table that I glanced at instead of holding. A teenage silence I mistook for independence. There was always an explanation. Always a reason. I was tired. I was stressed. I'd do better next week. Next week kept moving. When they grew older, conversations changed. Shorter, more careful. They stopped telling me how they felt and stuck to facts. School, work, weather. I thought that was normal. I thought that meant they were growing up. I didn't see it as distance. I saw it as success. Then they moved out, one at a time. I helped load the boxes. Gave advice they didn't ask for. Told them to call if they needed anything. I meant it. They did call. At first, I was always glad to hear from them, but I was still busy. I let calls go to voicemail when I thought I'd ring back later. Sometimes I forgot. Sometimes days passed. When I did call, I kept it brief. I didn't want to be a bother. I didn't realize that not wanting to be a bother can feel a lot like not wanting to be involved. Years slipped by that way. Holidays became shorter visits, then occasional ones, then apologies instead of plans. I told myself this was just how adult families worked. People got busy, lives expanded. What I didn't see was how narrow my own life was becoming. The turning point didn't come with an argument. It came with a hospital room. I was in for something minor, a scare more than anything. But lying there, staring at the ceiling, I realized how few people knew I was there. One child texted. The other called a day later. Both sounded concerned. Both sounded far away. After I was discharged, I went home and sat in the quiet. I tried to remember the last time I had been a part of their daily lives. On a background presence, not a voice on the phone. A real part. I couldn't. That's when it hit me. Not like a punch, like a slow understanding. I hadn't pushed them away. I had slowly stopped reaching. I had assumed love was enough to hold things together. That intentions mattered more than actions. That there would always be time to explain myself later. Later ran out. There are things that can't be fixed once enough time has passed. You can apologize, but you can't return to a moment you missed. You can say you cared, but you can't give someone the feeling of being chosen when they needed it. My children are good people. They have their own lives now. They're not cruel. They're just distant. And that distance didn't appear overnight. It grew in the space where attention should have been. I see now that I taught them how to live without me. That's a hard thing to admit at 82. If you listen to this and you still hear your children in the other room, I won't tell you what to do. I don't believe in giving instructions from this side of life. I can only tell you what I wish I had known. Being there isn't about being in the house. It's about being available, undistracted, willing to stop what feels important for what actually is. Work will replace you faster than you expect. Children won't, and they won't announce when they're pulling away. They'll just get quieter. And if you don't lean in, that quiet becomes permanent. I don't wake up every day drowning in regret. Some days are peaceful. I walk. I remember good moments too. But there's an absence that doesn't leave. A sense that I misunderstood what mattered until the lesson was no longer useful. If this meant something to you, sit with it. You don't have to change your whole life. Just notice where your attention goes. Notice who waits while you're busy. As for me, I have photographs, phone numbers I don't dial as often as I'd like. Love that exists but lives at a distance now. I accept that this is how my story settles. I just wish I'd understood sooner that drifting doesn't look like loss while it's happening. It looks like normal days, passing quietly, one after another, until one day you realize how far apart you've become. And by then, all you can do is tell the truth.